The war had been over for 3 years. The Zorathans, a towering race of warriors with blue-tinted skin and a reputation for ruthless conquest, had finally signed a peace treaty with the United Earth Federation. But scars of the conflict still ran deep, especially on colony worlds like Orion 6, where humans and Zorathans were forced to coexist. For Ethan Carter, a former soldier, the war had left him with more than just scars, it had left him with a deep-seated distrust of the enemy. He worked as a mechanic, keeping to himself, avoiding the towering aliens who now shared his city. But fate had other plans. It all started with a simple accident. He was walking home from work when he heard a low, pained growl. Turning a corner, he saw a Zorathan woman, easily 10 feet tall, struggling to move. Her large hand clutched her side, dark blue blood seeping between her fingers. She had crashed into a steel support beam, likely due to her injuries. Ethan's instincts screamed at him to walk away. She was the enemy. But something about her, the way she struggled to stay upright, stirred something within him. Against his better judgment, he approached her. "You need help," he said, though his voice was cautious. The Zorathan woman bared her fangs, a defensive gesture. "I do not need help from a human," she growled. "Yeah. Well, your ribs say otherwise." He sighed. "Look, I don't like this any more than you do. But I've seen enough people die already." She studied him for a moment before her pride gave way to necessity. She nodded, allowing him to lead her to his workshop. Ethan had treated battlefield wounds before, and though her biology was different, he managed to patch her up. As he worked, she introduced herself as Vekara, a former Zorathan warrior who had been dishonorably discharged for refusing to carry out an order she considered unjust. Over the next few weeks, Vekara kept coming back, not for medical help, but for conversation. Ethan found himself drawn to her blunt honesty, her fierce loyalty, and the way she carried herself with a warrior's dignity. She, in turn, seemed amused by his sarcasm and intrigued by his knowledge of machines. One evening, as they sat on the roof of his workshop, watching the distant skyline, Vekara sighed. "Humans are strange. You should hate me." "Maybe," Ethan admitted. "But I think I'm just tired of hating." She turned to look at him, her golden eyes searching his face. "Then perhaps we are both tired of war." Their unlikely friendship grew, but not everyone approved. Humans still viewed the Zorathans with suspicion, and many Zorathans saw Vekara's bond with a human as a betrayal. Tensions boiled over when a group of ex-soldiers, both human and Zorathan, confronted them one night. "You think she's your friend, Carter," one of the humans sneered. "She's just waiting for the chance to stab you in the back." Before Ethan could respond, a Zorathan male growled, "And you think she is one of us? She's already abandoned her people." Vekara stepped forward, her towering form radiating controlled fury. "I am Zorathan," she said coldly. "And I have nothing to prove to either of you." The air was thick with tension, but Ethan stood beside her. "Neither do I," he said. The confrontation didn't escalate, but it made one thing clear: Ethan and Vekara would always be outsiders in their own communities. But they had each other, and somehow, that was enough. One day, as Ethan worked on an old speeder, Vekara crouched beside him. "I have decided something," she said. "Yeah." He wiped his hands on a rag. "What's that?" "I want to build something. A home. A place where warriors and soldiers, human and Zorathan alike, can find peace." Ethan chuckled. "That's a pretty big dream." She smirked. "Then I will need someone who is good with machines." He stared at her for a moment, then nodded. "All right, Vekara. Let's build something better." In a galaxy still healing from war, an unlikely friendship between a human and a giant alien woman became a small beacon of hope. And maybe, just maybe, the future didn't have to be defined by the past.